Top of the afternoon. Another beautiful day in Southern California. Today we have an Intrac diff, also known as the RTA SI diff. This is not a CRV diff, let's not confuse the two. What we're gonna do today is show you guys how to take this apart and then show you guys some key components and how the diff works and stuff like that. So we're gonna be vapor honing this whole transmission, this whole rear diff, and we're gonna be restoring it front to back, and I'll show you guys how I do that. All right, so I like to use a copper hammer. One, it doesn't damage my tools, and two, if I need to tap anything, it damages the hammer instead of the steel of whatever I'm tapping. So this here is it's like a slam hammer, slam screwdriver. So if you hit this, it actually turns it every time you hit it. So I like to use that here on these Phillips. Sorry, I had to turn the lights on. I like to use these on these Phillips. One, as you guys see there, they're pretty easily in bad shape. These are coming from the islands. I mean, not the islands, the Netherlands, Sweden, Canada, the UK, stuff like that. So they're a little bit on the moisture side of what it's exposed to. So although they're in good condition inside, that's why we like to take them apart, make sure everything's good. We vapor hone everything, and then it looks brand new, which you guys will see here at the end of the video. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is tap these loose, these two, get this cover off. We're basically gonna take this hammer, hold it, and then bam. We don't damage the screw. We get a nice loosen bolt. And I'll show you guys here in just a second once I get it actually off. We didn't damage the threads in any way, shape, or form. And it'll be nice to vapor hone, and it'll be like a brand new screw. So we're gonna use a couple of these to keep all the parts there. These, my buddy 3D Prints, 3D Print Vegas. These are for pistons, so you got your bolts, your piston rings, your wrist pins, your rods, everything fits in the same tray. He makes the same for like the valves, and then this one's like the crank, so you can keep everything nice and clean. Although my table's a little cluttered right now, you know, we got a nice little area to work on, and so let's get rocking. Okay, so underneath that is basically just the plug to undo the harness, and then this plug is for the solenoid, which actually pushes the fork inside of there when the ABS kicks on, which I'll show you guys once we're open. All right, so this is a 9/16 Allen. Go ahead and tap that in a couple times, plus it's helping getting this loose. We're gonna hit this with a little heat real quick before we break this loose, and we are gonna use a wrench. We are not gonna use an impact. The last thing we wanna do is crack something right here on a 30-year-old part that is really hard to find. And this shouldn't be so tight. I am using a breaker bar, but I'm not even gonna hold this thing, in a couple little jabbers to get that right loose, just like anything else, man. All right, so we went ahead and bust these. These are M8 by 125s, and there's 9 of them total. The 217, the fill, and the drain. And now this cover's ready to come off, so we can get to see what's inside. Okay, unlike a transmission, there's really nowhere to pry this past up here. So I like to hit on this bottom where there has a bigger ledge, and then there's a better ledge. So I tap a couple times both sides, and then that gets it cracked open, as you guys see. Now that that's off, we can go ahead and pull the LSD/viscous out of here. Let me see if I can do this with one hand, because this fucking thing is heavy, which I'm not gonna be able to. Okay, so here we got the unit out, and as you see, it's shaped just like a viscous. And basically the concept of it is half of it is half of it, and the other half is the other half, which is one passenger, one driver wheel. It has a shaft in the middle, as you see, that is fixed, so you can't see through there. right now because it's laying down, but now you can see. Basically, it's just like a viscous, only it's separated into two. So instead of distributing the power from, sorry, going crooked. Instead of distributing the power from front to rear, it's a full locked up system, and then it distributes the power from right to left, which is in fact not like an LSD, like how it works, but it's an LSD. So as you see here, there's a bunch of 14s, and then we'll pull this ring gear off, and then I'll show you guys what's underneath, and I'll show you guys how it actually functions once I get it apart. These are a little bit tricky. They're not like the wagon viscous where you can just undo some C-clips and stuff, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Past that, I'm gonna pull all these dust covers, the covers out, the like baffles, and then the races for the bearings, the seals on the cover as well. That's all getting vapor honed. I'm gonna show you guys how to get this pinion shaft out here soon. So we're gonna put this to the side for right now. We'll finish disassembling it so we can get this ready for the vapor honer and then get back to work. Okay, the tin I took off of here is the bracket that holds this in place. This is the manual engagers. You see in there, there's a fork. This little rod pushes it front to back, which you see the 2. And if you look closely there, there's a 4. So this is like the manual to engage it 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive. Also, one good way to know if this is from a RTSI or Intrac, these plugs will be OBD0, so that means this is from a wagon Intrac. If they're gray, then that means it's from a RTSI, which is like a EG Civic, or some of that nature. Note when taking all this, the plugs, the stuff like that, it's all Honda Bond. So you need to make sure that you put Honda bonded. That's how Honda did it. So let's try to keep it that way. So got the sensor off. We're gonna pull the nose off, undo the safety notch there, and then pull these Allens off. We'll get this front cover off, and then I'll show you guys inside. Go ahead and bust that 30 off. This slides right off. You don't have to tap it off or anything like that. Put that into the pile. And then there's a couple wedge spots here. Here, you can't pull this cover off. You can only pull this cover off, and then inside there's 2 more bolts. I think 2 or 3. So you got to get this off first, then you can pull the center cover off. So there will be 2 Honda Bond seals that you'll have to do when putting this back together. Okay, so now that you got that off, there's a spring that goes on here. That's what keeps it engaged in 4-wheel drive at all times unless you manually do it. And then there's a sleeve inside of there, bearing, shim on the other side of that. So also baffle shield here. So we'll go ahead and pull all that stuff out when it comes time to get this Cerakoted. Right now I'm trying not to make a freaking mess because oil's coming out everywhere. So next, I'll show you guys how to pull all this apart. Basically, it's pretty simple. Just pull it all off of there. Keep this to the side in a bag so none of that gets ruined. And then you have another bolt here, which I believe is a 36. And then here's the 2 12s I was telling you about to pull this cover off and separate it from there. So before you go putting heat to this, if you look right inside of there, there's a clip like on the top of a transmission. Just take some needle noses in there, separate that. That bearing will come right out. All that will come right out. Okay, got that bearing out. We'll go ahead and set that in the bag. Part number goes facing up. Okay, loosen the 36. That just taps right on out, goes out to the back side. Pull this cover off. There's a damper there for the motor so it doesn't have vibration. And that doesn't matter if you hook it back up or not because you will not be using that. So when you pull this out, it's a little bit of fight to get this rubber loose, break it loose. There's a shim behind this. This is the magnetic motor. This thing's momentarily only, so it's not meant to be held on or not. So no, you cannot run power to it to fully engage the 4-wheel drive. And just like that, we got a disassembled diff. Okay, 100% empty. Got to pull this bearing race out, and then that'll be done. Everything else is out of there, ready to get vapor honed. So in the next video, we'll show you guys how to put all this back together nice and slow with the tripod. For now, we're going to show you how to bust the viscous apart. All right, so in order to separate the 2 from each other, you need to pull the ring gear off to get to these screws. They say these are non-serviceable, but you know us, we figured a way to service them. So what we're going to be basically doing is emptying out this viscous fluid and putting in 60K viscous fluid, which is going to get this thing hooking like your mama's, you know, how your mama used to do on D Street. So we got all these screws off. As you can see there, the fluid's already pushing out, trying to come out. There's no C-clips like the other style to get to everything. So just pull all these out. It'll start separating on its own just with pressure. And then as you see here, there's bleed holes for when you want to fill it back up. It's not a big deal. So right now we're going to go ahead and flip this over and then pull that cover off. Once you got it off, you can see all the disgusting fucking gross ass fluid. And it's the same as just like a viscous inside. So I'm trying to tell you guys, man, if you can find one for a cheap price, fucking grab it. They work, okay? They do take a little work to get them to work, just like a wagon setup, just like anything else, but it's doable in your garage. I'm showing you guys how, which I shouldn't be doing, but I am, because I can't do all these, and I preferably don't want to. So what we're gonna do is take everything out, disc by disc, get it all soaking in gas, and then clean everything up, and then we'll go ahead and fill it back up with the 60K fluid and call it a day. So these do take a quad seal in there, same as the wagon. And I've showed you guys a part number fucking 5,000 times, so I'm not gonna continue to show you guys that. But here's a replacement to go inside of there. Basically slips over that, so it sits nice and tight and everything's good to go. So we're gonna go ahead and get this all cleaned up, get this separated. As you can see there, there's tons of gunk. So this one actually put in some work. So good thing we took it apart and redid it. First, I'm gonna let this bubble over and just let it do its thing so a couple of the discs can pop out, and then we'll go from there. And just for the reference, these do come with 60K fluid stock. So unlike the wagon, they come with 30K, these come with 60K already stock. But unfortunately, this thing has seen some wear, and before it starts to eat the disc up, we wanna make sure that we get this refreshed with some new fluid and make sure everything's good. Okay, once you get halfway, which is basically the LSD, there's a C-clip there, and you're gonna go ahead and remove that C-clip there, and just remember that the first one down is a slotted disc, so the copper ring sits in there first, okay? But that's gonna conclude this first part of the video. There'll be a part 2 because there's just so many clips. I don't want people to get lost. So this is the full disassembly of it. I'm gonna show you guys how to put all this back together, the viscous, put everything back in the diff, how it looks vapor honed, and then how it looks at the end. So good luck to everyone starting. Here's clip 1. We'll show you guys part 2 when we get this wrapped up, and we'll go ahead and rock it. We out.